This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk to you about the League of Legends. This is an ongoing show. We talk a little bit about everyone's favorite MOBA-style battle game.
A wave of information this week.
Indeed, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a patch that came out that also came along with the Harrowing. In addition to that patch, we also got our sweet Sivir and Heimerdinger. Sivir got the update, and then Heimer got the kit rework.
And Ramus got his kind of like texture update.
After that, we have some very interesting information regarding everyone's favorite turbo dog, Susan. We have some potential skins for Nami and Lulu.
As well as Nasus.
It's true. And we also have some interesting preseason stuff to sort of breeze over. But, first thing on everyone's mind, the recent patch, I believe it was 1.13.
Was it 1.13? I thought it was
3.13.
Yeah. I was like 1.13. We're going back to season 1.
Yay!
The good old days.
So we've got a lot of interesting stuff, and we're not going to be able to go over it all, but we will go over kind of the highlights. Slight changes to attack speed slows that have basic slows associated with them as a combined effect. They're now cleansable with cleanse or other movement impairing purges. Champions with dashes tied to them, think Jarvan's Cataclysm, Malphite's Unstoppable Force, can now be CC'd, but the CC only applies after the ult has finished casting. So, if you stun J4 when he Cataclysms, he'll still land, he'll make the circle, but he'll be stunned when he gets inside of it.
Yeah, so things like Nocturne's Paranoia, where if he's coming at you and you target him for a stun, or you hit him with, say, like a Lux Beam or something like that, he'll get the snare after he lands. So that's when it happens. And in other cases, it was just a permanent, like, we're going to come into play, anything that hits me is just going to be invalid. So this is a nice change. It's very nice, especially if, you're trying to...
It's really kind of fair to both sides.
Yeah, I had this happen before the patch where I was playing LeBlanc, and I hit someone with the slow, and then right as he hit the snare, he was ulting, so the snare didn't even go off, which was really frustrating because that would have made the game.
I mean, this has happened a lot with Malphite's Unstoppable Force especially. They tinker around with him a lot, like letting him be CC'd sometimes. It really, really hurt his kit. So I'm glad they're moving in this direction.
Yeah, so this way it's kind of fair to both people.
Indeed. They have put a new screen filter on for stealth champions. Lets you know when you're in stealth with a little visual cue. I imagine it'll be toggleable, but nice, helpful little thing.
Yeah, this whole patch was a lot of, like, quality of life and visual changes. So it was kind of nice to see that stealth is actually going to feel stealthy.
Indeed. Champions, as far as their buffs and nerfs go, Aatrox got a big nerf. Got a lot of changes to his sort of flat damage abilities, so you're going to have to build a lot more damage if you want to have the same consistent DPS. Ahri, they've made a little bit more focused. Charm is now going to be very, very important to make sure your kit does enough damage. While they've reduced the damage of a lot of her other abilities and given her a little bit more staying power without her passive.
It's really interesting because both Aatrox and Ahri, the stuff they've changed, had to be reverted for a small period of time, and for I think the first 12 hours of the patch, they were unplayable because just there are so many bugs and stuff. If anybody knows why they were removed or something like that, let us know because I'm really curious. I couldn't find out.
Indeed. So it's going to be a little more different to play Ahri. A little less burst if you're not using your charm properly.
Corki got a huge nerf. His base attack speed was reduced, as well as Missile Barrages has its base damage reduced, as well as the increased cooldown, and they were not affected by cooldown reduction. So this is a massive nerf, probably after the events of Season 3.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of one of those things where they keep reverting back that cooldown reduction on his missiles, and it's kind of frustrating as a Corki player to see that they just keep kind of fiddling around.
He still gains the missiles pretty quickly with the CDR, but it doesn't affect the GCD between shots.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, I don't like that. Fizz got a slight nerf, reducing his DPS, making him more focused on burst and rotations, which really kind of defeats the point of his kit. Heimerdinger, huge rework, all kinds of stuff changed. Deals a lot more damage, but his upgrade is a lot less fun to use. It makes him less of a powerhouse and more of just a burst.
I have to disagree. Actually, seeing Heimerdinger playing both in ARAM and in 5s, his upgrades and his turrets deal way more damage than you can expect, because I got trapped between two turrets and I went down fast. Like, I couldn't get out as Blitzcrank. With the shield, it melted me within, like, 10 seconds without any help. It's pretty scary.
Well, I'm not doubting he has... I mean, if you look at the ratios, I mean, they're way higher.
Yes.
And they do a lot more things. But the feel of old Upgrade was like, all right, I slow you, I blow you up, my rockets hit really hard.
He doesn't need to slow anymore. He doesn't off the turrets because the turrets deal so much damage on their own. It's like just standing in there.
And the grenade has the slow now on it,
yes.
too. So, I don't know. It's just a different kit, and I'll have to get used to it. Heimerdinger has always been a character I kind of played every now and again. And I always really enjoyed that sort of, this is my nest. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
There was an ARAM game. No, it was an ARAM game where I was running up to the tower, and when we got up there, there was the two turrets next to the big turret, and then there was like a wall of people, and it felt like we were assaulting a fortress. It was so funny. Jolly Green and I were like, well, that's not going to end.
We're not dying on this beach! Go, go!
For Blue Nexus!
Oh, man. Gaston got slight nerfs to reduce his magic resist per level. They retooled his base damage to be a little bit lower on Null Sphere. But they put more power into Rift Walk. So, you can do a lot more with sort of your later gameplays, but they wanted the early game to be a little less powerful. Especially considering just how badly he beat up casters in the mid lane. Made him very difficult to fight against.
But wasn't his whole gimmick being an anti-caster?
Yes.
So it's one of those things where it's kind of...
They're slowly pulling him away from that, and it's sad. But...
Yeah, they're making him more of just a very, very fast AP assassin.
Mm-hmm. Next up we have Morgana. She's got a slight change to her. They made her Tormented Soil do a little bit more damage in the late game, and especially on lower HP champions, making it more of an assassin-y tool, while also making her a little bit safer, just in terms of how her basic attacks go off and what she does with her kit. However, they reduced the magic resist debuff on her, so it took away a little bit of her unique sort of character plays. But they made her a lot more consistent in terms of damage, and they gave her a lot more killing power in terms of when you get someone low and you just start hammering them with Tormented Soil with all of her roots. Really kind of an interesting change.
Yeah.
Rammus, of course, like we said, he got that sweet texture change, so he looks pretty fancy now.
Nothing really to talk about, just go check out the images of him or play him for yourself. A lot of really cool things happening with him.
Olaf got some tweaking. They wanted to make him a little bit more competitive after his initial rework. They kind of laid on some of the nerfs a little bit too much. They were a little cautious, and they've since increased the power in his kit. So we have that. Sivir, of course, got her big visual update and a slight kit rework. Changed the way all of her spells work. It's actually quite interesting. Ricochet is an active. It no longer has a maximum number of bounces, so it can just keep going forever. But I mean, it'll slowly reduce eventually. So eventually, it'll do 0 damage. But
it will still be bouncing around if you get it right. It's like
I guess it's a percentage, so it'll approach 0. It'll never hit 0.
Yeah,
but still, that's pretty cute.
0.00001 boomerang just bouncing between two people, just ow.
Spell Shield, they've reduced the mana cost on completely, which I think is a crazy change. So the mana return has been reduced as well, but now it's just a no risk, just thoughtless, just need some mana back. Thank you.
You still have to actually learn when to toggle it, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to invest mana and then it not trigger. So it's kind of one of those.
Well, I mean, it was a trade.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would pop it when you think you're going to get hit by a spell, and you got double mana back, so sweet investment. Now it's just like, zero cost, I can get between 60 and 120 back. It's great. I mean, I have no problem with it, but definitely different.
On the Hunt no longer has cast time. Fantastic.
But no longer grants attack speed as a basic thing.
Now grants Sivir a new passive where it gains attack speed while Ricochet is active. And movement speed bonus now begins at 60% and then reduces to 20% after 4 seconds.
And the cooldown has been jumped up at lower levels and made smaller at higher levels. So altogether, sort of I'm not sure how this is going to work. I'm kind of nervous because it takes away some of her power in terms of pushing, but it puts it in other places. Like, she can take out creep raids really quick rather than taking out towers really quick. Her mana shield, her spell shield, is going to make her really difficult to hit in lane because she won't have mana issues with it. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how it goes. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled, and she definitely looks great, guys. So take a look at her in game. Zed has been nerfed pretty hard. They wanted to take down some of his just easy killing power. They wanted to make it so he has a lot less escapability, and they've sort of done that by making Living Shadow. It takes him longer to get places is the main thing.
Yeah, because he was able to travel the map pretty fast by using a shield to jump over, or not a shield, but a shadow to jump over walls, and then just kind of go through the jungle really fast and then pop up next to someone.
Indeed. But then on Deathmark, they've made it so he has a little bit bigger of a window where he's invulnerable. And the shadow duration that it has on it also has an increased duration. So you're going to be able to do a lot more with your ult, but a little bit less with your Living Shadow is their main thing they want to go for. They want to make him more assassin-y and less bursty, which is kind of weird to say, but they want to put more power in his ult without taking away from his kit, which I think they did well here.
Zig's got a huge buff. They pretty much increase his damage on most of his abilities. Satchel Charge got an increased radius. Bouncing Bombs now cast targets outside of its maximum range. It does a lot of interesting new concepts for him, and now deals double damage to minions for his ultimate. So there is a lot more power to him, and no real downside to it.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit more pushing power, which is never a bad thing. Zyra, they've toned down her early poke. I mean, the snare was amazing.
It was way too good.
And the bloom with the short cast time was not great, but they've made it better with ability power, which is good. Rampant growth, that's the big deal. I mean, they've hit the cooldown reduction pretty hard. The plant-based damage got hit a little bit in the early game, but it's stepped up in the late game. And they've also reduced the delay that their seeds are invulnerable, which is kind of a big deal. I mean, being able to stomp on those things really hurts your kit. And if you have a mobile character, you're able to shut her down pretty dang hard.
Yeah, because that's like the main way to counter her is if she's throwing seeds, if she's a support, and then she's throwing seeds into the bush, and then when the time's right, she activates them using like one of her abilities. But as like a support, what I do is I just walk over and I start stomping on them, and then I go back into my side. I'm just like, duh, duh, duh.
Indeed. Stranglethorns, her ult, has had the stun effect on it pretty much removed.
Yes.
It only lasts as long as the knockup is, which is pretty short as is. But they've fixed some slight bugs with it enraging plants. So that way it's more of a DPS tool and less of a ha sweet damage and
knockup and
awesome
CC.
Knockup. It's ridiculous. But a bunch of minor bug changes after that, guys. I definitely recommend reading the patch notes, drawing your own conclusions. Some slight changes to certain items like Hextech Sweeper and Twin Shadows on different maps. But again, these are all kind of mechanical changes. You really got to look over them and understand what they're going to do to the maps.
They also did a lot more visual updates, like new sounds for gold, and new sounds for leveling up, and new visuals for it. Very interesting. The new sounds are very satisfying, especially at first when you first realize they're there and hitting several groups. It feels a little bit heavier, and it feels like more gold being put in your opponent, even though it's the same. And leveling up, it's not as like loud and yellow light everywhere. It's more like a blue swirl with a lower tone to it.
Ooh.
But both of them are really nice, and I can appreciate the change to it.
Indeed. But yeah, guys, definitely take a look at the patch notes. We'll move on to the Harrowing official news with that. We already talked about the two skins that came out, Police Officer Vi and Haunted Zyra. So we're going to move on to the other things that sort of came out with that.
So they also brought back the Ward skins from last year. This time you can use them temporarily. This helps if you're going for all of the item achievements this year, if you're trying to get all the icons. Or you can buy them purchased separately for $640, and these will be permanent this year. Now, what's nice is we have a few more Ward skins this year. We have the original Ghost and the Tombstone, but they added the Spider, the Log, and the Bat. So we have 5 new Ward skins that can use temporarily or permanently. You can get them all together for, I think, 2,600 IP. I'm not 100% sure, but it's about 200. But if you're using Ward skins, I think one Ward skin will be enough for you.
Indeed.
I personally like the Bat one. It has a lot of cool sound effects to it when you actually place it.
The spunk.
Now, we mentioned this earlier, there are new icons for this year only. We're going to kind of go over how to get them. The first one is the Vilemaw icon. You have to play a game in Twisted Tree Line. Easy
Not
enough.
Too difficult.
To get the Iceborne Keeper icon, you must send a friend a mystery gift.
It's a pretty cheap investment, not bad at all.
To obtain the Tomb Angel icon, you just have to use a Harrowing skin. They're free during the event, so as long as you go
place
to
a ward.
Yeah.
You have to toggle it on in the options
Yes.
of the ward skin thing. But once you do that, just place ward, you got it.
To obtain the Spirit of the Spirit of the Altar icon, you need to buy a piece of Harrowing content. So if you're going to get one of the skins, it works perfectly fine.
Does that count ward skins as well?
Yes.
Sweet.
And finally, to obtain the Morello Namicon, you must get all the 4 other icons.
Well, there you go.
Right now, I've had some problems. I played about 4 games of Twisted Tree Line, and I haven't been able to get the Vilemai icon. I have the other 3, and so I'm just waiting to see how they do Vilemai so I can get the Morello Namicon. These icons are actually really good.
I like the Spirit of the Altar.
I like Iceborne, the Iceborne Keeper. Very cool. He's kind of smug to him. These icons are pretty great.
But I still love the claw from last year.
I use the tree still. I
love that claw.
I'm glad those weren't brought back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty nice to see all the stuff they did this year. Little late. We're recording this on Halloween.
I know, it's terrible.
But Team Fortress 2 came out earlier, so just a day earlier. And
holiday content, unless it's like Christmas, is usually pretty delayed. I don't know. They're always trying to put polish on it.
I guess I can't blame them too much, but I can still blame them because I'm a greedy consumer.
Greedy consumer. I'm a greedy consumer that wants everything perfect.
I do. All right, guys. Next on our list, Turbo Dog, Nasus visual update. Oh, it pains me to say Nasus.
I know.
He's Susan. So they're changing his kit, maybe, but they're definitely changing his voice actor, and they're not really changing his look. They're just modernizing it.
The reason why they're changing the voice actor is, unfortunately, the voice actor for the original Nasus passed away before the events of this rework, and they're going to try their best to keep the voice acting and the feel of Nasus, so we get.
But his legacy is going to drift away
in the sands of time,
blown into eternity.
Hopefully, they draw on
like the sands.
Okay.
Of the desert.
But they're adding. I think they're adding 25 new voice acting.
Well, he's got
cuts.
16 lines right now. They're going all the way up to about 45. They said. So he's gonna have a lot more dialogue. I presume
all of it's really long.
Some of it will address Renekton. Maybe some of it will address Amamu and Zillion. It's hard to say. We don't know yet.
But first look at it. Looks really good. He looks like he's wearing armor. It's not just like a cloth to him anymore. His stick is not rounded. It's more pointed, and it looks a little bit more deadly.
Let me be the first to say, K9 Susan with the original update looks stupid.
He does. He does.
I hope it goes on sale, because I would buy the hell out of it. Because he looks like other ones are like, I am here to cause trouble, and he's just like, I'm wearing a hat!
Looks like he's just wearing a lot of cloth shoulder pads, and he's ready to spar.
A sweater.
It's very chilly outside. I should grab a sweater.
But either way, guys, I don't know. I love Susan's voice.
And it does kind of sadden me that we're not going to be able to get more out of that voice actor.
Indeed.
But you never know. We might get a voice actor that might,
I'm curious to see if they're going to change his kit at all.
They said there might be slight adjustments to it, but I don't think it's going to be as heavy.
I mean, people love his kit. It's fun. He's totally unique. The only guy that can really stand up to him is Vagar. In terms of uniqueness.
Yeah, you feel so powerful near the end of the game if you've done it right, where you have so many stacks on you.
I just hope they bring back Crit Susan. That was like my favorite week.
I bought Susan and a skin just for Crit Susan, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, it's not really critting.
It's like 26 minutes in, just 1,200, and you're like, well!
There's that game that we had on one of the episodes where you one-shot that Lux, and he was so mad. He's like, here, I'm gonna get you, Swither.
Dude, I went Flash Ghost that game just so I could run at things. Get the boots that reduce the CD on those two bad boys, and I just unleashed hell. It's hysterical.
But speaking of Nasus skins, they actually have on the PvE right now what looks like a new Nasus skin and his new artwork. Infernal Nasus looks interesting from what we can see.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No.
Well, that's probably... There's no particle effects to it yet.
Yeah.
You don't think him on fire?
It looks kind of exaggerated.
My question is, what's with that dog treat right there?
I imagine he probably has a new taunt or new slash joke that involves a doggy treat, which is silly.
Yeah, don't do that.
He's this...
He's supposed to be...
He's stoic. He had one joke where he's like, woof, woof. And you're like, he's being facetious.
He's like, I hate you guys, stop it. But this one, I think they're pushing it too far. I think they're kind of referencing the Season 1 video where he got the ball and he ran around and it's like, ha, it's a dog. But the new splash art for him, holy crap. I think this is for Pharaoh Nasus?
I think that's the base skin.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Pharaoh Nasus has the big headdress.
That's right.
This does not.
But
so it stands to reason.
I'm alright with it. It looks fantastic.
Indeed. So, I don't know. I'm going to be watching this stuff like a hawk.
Because they've already let you down once with Garen.
Oh, gosh. I hate to harp on Garen, though.
It hurts you.
Other skins, Lulu and Nami. Nami definitely more than Lulu. Lulu, when they went over to Luca Games and Comics, was that... This one was in Italy, the Lulu skin. And Nami was in Brazil.
Yeah, so there were two different groups of artists in both regions, and they were kind of doing up some new skins and stuff like that. And we got hints to it on their Facebook page with, like, a couple of poros, and they're like, you know, something's going to happen with it. And the new Lulu skin's going to have a poro as her picks. And it's going to be adorable. And it looks like her polymorph is going to turn him into a tiny little snowman. Oh. And I think it's going to be a snowman, or the snowman's going to be her, you know, it's one of the two they're playing with. But I really like the ice theme to it, and hopefully we get to see it this Christmas.
Indeed. Because
I might pick up Lulu for this skin, because I really like that frost theme skin. Because the particle effects on one always look superior.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort into Lulu just because she's got so much flair and the polymorph and everything like that. It's crazy.
And the Nami skin, they based this one off like a Brazilian mermaid lore. And hopefully we get to see this, because it's like a bright purple, a lot of like...
It's very different than the other
Yeah, she's very armored. She's not like, you know, just in her normal, like, I got my riffles and I'm in different colors. Very armored, her stick looks good.
It almost looks like coral.
Yes, I love
it into armor.
I love Coral Malphite, and hopefully we get to see some like coral aspects in her. Maybe when she tidal waves, like coral is like sticking out of it, and you're just like, no.
That would hurt a lot. Just, oh, it's so sharp.
Oh, starfish in the face. Oh! But that
by the skin, it gets enhanced.
And starfish.
But after that, guys, we have a couple more preseason things. This is part of their big block of red posts that are up on the forums. There is so much information here.
More than
runes are getting changed, jungle's getting changed, support's getting changed, items are getting changed, masteries are getting changed. Everything's getting changed. And you guys really, 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 really need to go check these out. Go to the forums, check the red posts, or go to surrenderat20.net. Check out what they got, guys. It's a great read. It's a lot to read, but the more you know about it, the more it's going to help you later on in life.
As it's being introduced into the main game and PvE is when we're going to talk about it and how it's going to affect the game. But it's all hearsay right now, so it's just a lot of, you know, what ifs, what we would want to do, what we should do. So until then, just read it for yourself and get your own opinion.
And we'll let you know when it gets implemented and everything like that, and we'll be talking with you all throughout the preseason.
Just as soon as we refresh the page, it's been officially announced of Infernal Nasus.
I gotta tell you, my previous opinions on Infernal Nonsense definitely have fallen by the wayside.
When he ultimates, he gets 2 new heads that pop up on his side.
This is Cerberus now.
Okay, so yeah, that's a thing.
Wow.
First opinions, so cool.
Wow, that's really cool. So yeah, Infernal Nonsense looks crazy. Good lord.
And that's really about it for news this week. We're going to move on to our own section.
Jesus. Our first question this week comes from Mester12. He says, who do you guys think would be next for a texture upgrade?
I think Tarek. I'd like to see Terra get a little bit more...
Just a texture upgrade, not a visual upgrade.
No, just more texture to, more, particle effects on his gems and stuff like that. Because in all Splash Out, he's, radiant. He's shine and stuff like that, but it doesn't really reflect when you're actually playing him. Maybe, a different, glow underneath him, depending on which champion it is.
If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Skarner. Skarner's model is beautiful, but his textures look kind of plasticky almost.
Yeah, he kind of feels like he's made out of,
It looks like a play school toy.
Yeah, he feels like one of those wind-up truck Scorpion Transformers.
So I think if they made him maybe a little bit more dirty and just, looking like something that really came from underground and it's just this monster, I'd really dig that.
Yeah.
But, guys, we're kind of running long, so that's it for questions this week. We love questions. We try to answer at least 2 on most weeks. If you have any questions for us about the show, about League of Legends, about gaming in general, about anything, really, we'd love to hear them. We'd definitely answer them. Please post them in the comments section below. Send it to our email at bestofgaming@gmail.com or post it on our Facebook page. We'll definitely take a look.
Hex is still going strong. We've been updating every now and again with new patches. We've been doing some deckless stuff, getting some interesting bugs out of the way. So it's been fun. I'm going to try to get some more out after this season. I just started a second job, so I've kind of lost a lot of time.
Just a little.
So I'll try to get what I can done, bring in Watu and Jolly Green when I have the chance.
Yay! Otherwise, with Naxus.
And Water Elemental. I hope Nasus' voice doesn't sound dumb.
It's probably going to be, remember when Poochie came on? Just play a clip of Poochie to take us out.
Well, look who's here! Hi, Poochie. You look like you've got something to say. Do you?
Yes, I certainly do. I have to go now. My planet needs me.